So Phil Jackson says the following. The media was decidedly against the organization, and they were looking for whatever they can do to throw aspersions. I now understand, excuse me, let me word for word. I kind of understand what Trump had to live with for the first 3.5 years in office with the media. He's comparing himself to Donald Trump. You win. No problem, Phil. You can have that all day if you want. It's the media's fault. It's not you. And then the fan base. You're going to love this. You're a diehard Knicks fan. You've been a loyal Knicks fan. You go to the Garden, as we know. We've talked about it a lot on this show. The Knicks sell out every game.
Every game.
So here's what he said. There are long, devoted Knicks fans, and I appreciate their desire, but I think they get in the way of the team a lot of times.
How so?
Well, he didn't elaborate on that.
How freaking so?
So it's our fault.
How do fans get in the way? Now,
you go.
the media comment, I do want to address this because there are a group of Knicks fans, I've argued with them, who believe the media is out to get the New York Knicks. There are a lot of Knicks fans who actually agree with that sentiment, that the media locally and nationally love to make fun of the Knicks and sometimes do it when it's not deserved. Now, I partially agree with them on a national level. I do. I think
the media is not rooting for the Knicks to lose.
No, I
don't
disagree
believe that.
with. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know if you've engaged in this, but there are a good amount of Knicks fans, I wouldn't say the majority, and I've talked to them about this, that do believe that the media hates the New York Knicks and tries to pounce on them at all negative times.
I think there are members of the media who have a personal problem with the owner of the team and sometimes allow their personal feelings or maybe how they feel the owner has treated them to then color their coverage of the team. Because at the end of the day, remember, we're all people. It's a lot easier to rip and criticize a franchise when you don't like the owner of the franchise or the players than it is to be friendly with those people and then also paint a critical eyeball on them.
But you can understand why that would tick a fan off.
Yeah,
a fan doesn't care
the fan
about the
wants their
relationship.
team to win. Like, I've always said this. Like, I like Frank Isola a lot. He's a friend, and I think he's very good at what he does. Frank Isola and the Garden are oil and water. As a Knicks fan, I don't care what Frank's relationship is with the Garden or James Dolan.
Right.
I got no interest in it as a fan. So I agree with that. The fan base doesn't care if you like or get along with the team that you cover. But we do care if you allow that to color your coverage of the team.
But do you think there have been times, and I guess forget the national media because who the hell cares? Have you ever felt over the last 5 to 10 years that there have been unfair criticisms of the New York Knicks?
Yes.
Okay.
I do. Well, I think I got to stop because I'm not answering the question you asked, so I apologize. I think there have been things that have been Knick-related all on the court and off the court where the coverage was not fair because people don't like James Dolan.
Well, I
think the best example I have of that is the Charles Oakley situation.
Well, but I think there is a part of
as far as off the court.
There is a part of what Phil Jackson is saying that I think there are some Knicks fans who have been saying for years. I really do.
Say that again?
There's a part of what Phil Jackson is saying concerning the media that some Knicks fans have been saying for years.
But as a Knicks fan...
That's true. That doesn't mean it's the majority. I know firsthand because I've had these discussions.
You think Knicks fans think the coverage of the Knicks is biased?
Yes.
But they care about it?
Yes.
Because those could be mutually exclusive.
Have you ever heard Knicks for clicks? Have you ever heard that hashtag? Have you ever? Is that the first time you've heard of this?
No, I've heard of it, so and I know what it is.
And it resonates.
Trust me, I live it.
Okay. But there are Knicks fans who believe, and I've tried to listen because I'm curious about this perspective, and I think sometimes they're right, by the way.
Yeah, okay.
And I say this as a non-Knicks fan, where things are said about the Knicks in which you say, really? You could criticize so many things about the Knicks. This is unfair. Right. And there is a group of Knicks fans, a decent amount of them, who feel the media locally has been slanted against the Knicks for a long time.
But is that mutually exclusive to the manner in which they as fans then root for or follow the Knicks. It's
No,
exclusive.
it doesn't affect them. They
Right,
get ticked
right.
off about it. They get defensive about their team.
Right, I got
and
it.
say, and look, we all agree, Knicks fans agree, they've been bad for a long time.
It's been
We
very
get
easy
it.
target.
Of course they're an easy target, but what you shouldn't do, and it does happen, I think much more nationally than locally, is you start to say, oh, the Knicks are an easy target. I'm going to criticize them for this. I'm going to criticize them for that.
Sure.
Like, I'm going to give you a specific example.
All right.
When Kristaps Porzingis is healthy and having big games, from many people, all we hear about is, see, Porzingis, stupid trade. When Porzingis, his ass is on the bench because he's hurt, we don't hear from them.
No, you're
It's
right.
radio silence.
And I do think that has changed over the last 6 months because of the success and the clear competence that Leon Rose and those guys are bringing to the table. But you're right. I just never thought the average fan, to me, cares more about the Knicks winning or losing
Totally
than how
agree.
they're covered.
Totally agree.
Obviously.
I want to make it clear. I'm not saying that this is the majority of Knicks fans. I think most Knicks fans only care about wins and losses. That's it.
What
But-
else would you care about?
Of
right?
course, but I did when I read Phil's comments, and I think the fan comment is stupid. There's so many dumb things he said, but the media stuff, I've heard from Knicks fans saying something very similar. And here's the thing that really ticks me off about Phil. When Phil Jackson was hired, you remember this, the guy got a 5-minute standing ovation at Madison Square Garden. He had done nothing.
Yep.
For most people in that building, all he was to you was the guy who coached Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. He wasn't the guy who played for the championship teams in the 70s. You didn't even know about it. That's a story in the history books. And this man got a 5-minute standing ovation. He was treated with the ultimate red carpet by Knicks fans.
Yeah. Well,
They
he also
treated him-
played for the Knicks. That was a small part of
I
it.
understand, but it's a very small part of it because the majority of Knicks fans,
Yeah.
like in their 30s, in their 20s,
Have no concept of that.
They
That's right.
know about it from a history book.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
experience it.
Yeah.
And yet they gave a guy who was their rival, to some of them, a standing ovation. He was treated like a saint, like a hero, like a savior. That's
Yeah.
how he was treated.
Yeah.
And now, when he was a colossal failure, there's no debate about that. This guy's got the audacity to go on any kind of podcast and talk about how Knicks fans get in the way sometimes. Dude, they couldn't have been nicer to you when you're standing there. You've done nothing at Madison Square Garden, and you're getting a 5-minute standing ovation.
He also blamed the coaches. He took really no ownership. He said that, Derek Fisher went south when he had that problem with what's his name and the girl.
Yes.
Right, when he left the training camp
Matt
member.
Barnes.
Matt Barnes, right? He said he lost credibility with the team right there in
Who
the
hired
moment.
Derek Fisher?
Right. Good.
I'm sorry, because the criticism just really ticks me off.
Then
Especially
he
you don't hold
talked about.
accountability.
Then he talked about how he used Kurt Rambis because he knew the triangle as well. And then Jeff Hornacek. But he does claim one thing. He goes, "I thought about coming out of retirement and coaching myself, but I wasn't physically able to do that." And then he goes, "The guys I hired were intimidated by Carmelo Anthony." Now, we've had a lot to say about Carmelo Anthony here. Some of it very good, a lot of it not so good, right? Failed expectations, all that stuff. We don't have to go over it again. But to blame Carmelo Anthony for the fact that you hired 3 different men who are supposed to be leaders of men, who by your admission now were intimidated by the presence of your star player, is not on Carmelo Anthony. It's on the men you hired and your decision to hire them. We can blame Carmelo Anthony for a lot of things here, and we have. But I'm never going to blame the player for being who he is and you hiring a guy that's intimidated by the player.
Craig, I got a dumb question.
Please, sir.
Carmelo Anthony was a free agent. Carmelo Anthony was openly flirting with the Chicago Bulls.
Yes, he was.
The New York Knicks decided to give him a no-trade clause and re-sign him. Who was the executive, Craig, who made that decision?
One of only 3 no-trade clauses at the time in the history of the game, if I remember correctly.
Who signed them?
The big man.
Okay. See, Phil.
Big Bird.
Phil, let me teach you something. We in New York may be very devoted. We may get in the way sometimes. We're not morons. And we remember things. And we know everything you did that happened in front of us. We know you signed the corpse of Joakim Noah. We know that. We know you hired the coaches that weren't tough enough. And we also know that you re-signed Carmelo Anthony.
And half the year, you weren't even here.
Well, yeah.
You were living in Montana getting stoned, eating cupcakes all day. So zip your lip.